First of all, let's talk about Natalie Elphicke. Today she sensationally crossed the House to the Labour Party from the Tories, accusing her erstwhile party of being incompetent, screwing up the migrant crisis, because she's the MP for Dover, right on the front line, of course. Never really heard much from her, but strangely silent on that issue. She always was. She'll say she wasn't, but she was. I tried to get her on my various shows quite a few times. Never came on. Didn't like to talk about it somehow for some reason. But anyway, that's what happened today. So let's talk about these extraordinary events in Westminster with political journalist Theo Usherwood. Hello, Theo.
Good evening, Kevin.
Thanks for joining us. Now, this is what I'd like to ask you first, before we get into Natalie Elphicke's kind of, I would say, tactical treachery. This time last week, just minutes before Prime Minister's question times, when Rishi was going to be on the rack in the House of Commons, Dan Poulter, former minister, Tory MP, defected to Labour and announced, he couldn't take any more of Tory hell and Tory incompetence, the party. Boom, boom, boom. Just minutes before PMQ. Minutes before PMQ's today, Natalie Elphicke, the MP, the Tory MP for Dover, defected to the Labour Party. Something going on here, isn't there?
Well, from the Labour's point of view, Kevin, this is all about sowing chaos, or just trying to give the electorate the feeling that the Conservatives remain a party in disarray, that they're leaving in droves and they're joining Keir Starmer's party. But it has backfired a little bit. Just to give you some background, of course, Natalie Elphicke is the estranged wife of Charlie Elphicke. And when Charlie Elphicke was convicted a few years ago of sexually assaulting two women...
Went to jail for that, didn't he? Went to jail.
He did go to jail for that, yes. She was accused of gaslighting the victims by saying that her husband at the time was very attractive and attracted to women, and in effect trying to diminish the effect that his crimes had had on those two women. Now, her defection today has actually gone down very badly amongst Labour MPs who are saying, hang on a moment, is she somebody we really want in our party? And of course, Dan Poulter crossed the floor last week, and she's in fact the third, because of course Christian Wakeford, who was up in the North Wing of Tory, he crossed the floor before. But at least with Christian Wakeford, there was a sort of feeling that he wasn't really a Tory. He sort of joined and suddenly found himself an MP in Parliament. Dan Poulter from the centre, the centre of the party, the sort of Cameron wing of the party. But Natalie Elphicke, Steve Baker was saying earlier on today, he doesn't know anybody to the right of Natalie Elphicke. And you've got all these left-wing MPs within Parliament in the Labour Party scratching their heads going, hang on a moment, Diane Abbott's been kicked out, she's lost the Labour whip, she's no longer a Labour MP. And now we've got Natalie Elphicke on our benches as a colleague.
By the way, Theo,
consternation.
By the way, Theo, sorry to interrupt, but I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, very recently, she tweeted, if the Labour think they can solve the migrant crisis by doing a deal with France, think again, they'll be a shambles, they're a disaster. Suddenly, she's had this sort of Damascene conversion. What on earth is going on?
But now you talk about the benefits potentially of Natalie Elphicke joining the Labour Party, right? She's somebody who's saying, in effect, Rishi Sunak has not a hope in hell of solving the migrant crisis, of stopping the small boats. Keir Starmer has a slightly different plan, which is based around trying to cooperate with the European Union to come up with a quota system whereby we could, in effect, end up taking more migrants than we're already taking. But the hope is from Keir Starmer that when they get into the nitty-gritty of negotiations with the European Union, that in actual fact, they'll be able to send more back because they'll have the cooperation of the European Union and countries like France and Germany and so forth. But you're quite right, because what you're pointing out, Kevin, of course, is the benefit of Natalie Elphicke, in effect saying, I can't stand being with Rishi Sunak anymore. I think Keir Starmer's actually got a better chance of doing this. She's decided not to join the Reform Party. She's already said she's standing down at the next election. The question is now, does she end up getting a nice, cushy £300 a day Labour peerage off the back of her defection and court in the case?
Same deal for Dan Poulter, I suspect. Because he's not standing at the next election either. So what you might say is, why, since then neither of them they both decided not to stand. Why make this grand theatrical gesture that's only going to make all her former Tory colleagues very fed up. Why do this unless there's something in the offing for maybe both Dan and Natalie?
Well, the obvious thing would be a period that neither would expect under Rishi Sunak. When Rishi Sunak leaves office, neither would expect to get a peerage in the House of Lords. They haven't had that sort of career. They haven't been in government, worked in Rishi Sunak's cabinet. They wouldn't expect to get a peerage from Sunak as he leaves office. So the obvious conclusion is that they've got something. They've done some deal with Keir Starmer that actually, when they stand down at the next election, they're going to get bumped up to the House of Lords, or maybe they get some other gong as way of compensation. But Keir Starmer has been very pointed in the fact of saying, we're not like the Tories. We don't do grubby deals. We don't play to the electorate. We don't play Westminster games. We're a little bit higher. Our morality is a bit higher than the Conservative Party. And now they're in a situation where we're all scratching our heads, wondering, what's going on here? What's going to be the kickback? Is there going to be kickback? Yeah. And of course, they're denying there's going to be any kickback. But should it happen, then everybody's going to be jumping on them saying, well, you're no different from the Conservatives in this respect.
And as you said, Theo, there's a lot of bad feeling in the Labour Party about what's happened. They're saying, why are good Labour stalwarts like, I use the term good advisedly, Diane Abbott and Jeremy Corbyn are currently kicked out of the Parliamentary Labour Party. And yet Natalie Elphicke, who, as you say, is way closer to reform than she is socialism, is suddenly being embraced by the party. And a lot of people are very, very fed up about it. Let me tell you a story about her, though, Natalie Elphicke. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. What did you make? I know she was sort of democratically elected, but there was something that felt very uncomfortable about the fact her husband, Charlie, was the MP for Dover, the Tory MP for Dover, got himself into a very bad fix, got done for sexual crimes and ended up in jail. And his wife, just stepped into his political shoes. That itself was a bit odd, wasn't it?
Well, there's nothing immediately, Kevin, to say, well, there's anything that Natalie Elphicke did anything wrong.
No, I'm not saying that, but it just was uncomfortable.
It's odd. Of course you could. But I think what people are very, and this isn't a criticism of The Sun, by the way, at all, but she wrote in The Sun, she tried to, the accusation is, especially from women within the Labour Party, women MPs in the Labour Party, that in her column in The Sun, where she said, she tried to give the impression, like, Charlie, he's attracted to, he's attracted to women. Women find him attractive. That somehow she's trying to diminish really serious crimes which he went to jail for.
Yes.
And that goes down really badly amongst women MPs in the Labour Party. That she should be seen. The argument they make is, women crimes against women, sexual assaults against women are really serious crimes. Women often find it very difficult. I'm just putting this is their argument. Women often find it very difficult to step forward and report these crimes against often very powerful, wealthy men. And when they do, and those men go to prison, you shouldn't have people sitting at the sidelines somehow trying to diminish what they've done, or trying to sort of brush it under the carpet or sweep it away. And the accusation against Natalie Elphicke is exactly that, with her when she wrote in the Sun newspaper about the fact that Charlie he's attracted to women and women find him attractive. And that's the particular point where the point of complaint, where a lot of MPs are now going up to the Labour whips, and saying, hang on a moment, we're not allowing Diane Abbott into the party, or we're trying to stand above the Conservative Party and our morality and what we're preaching to the electorate, what we're telling the electorate in who we are and our values and what we stand up for. And now we're allowing somebody into the party who is, in effect, previously tried to diminish the crimes of a powerful man.
I get that point. I get that point, Theo. Just a final point about Natalie Elphicke. She had a very key constituency. She could have turned herself into a major figure in this country. You're a veteran political journalist. You might have observed this syndrome too. I tried several times to get her onto my various shows, because I thought, well, the MP for Dover, what a person to talk to about the migrant right at the front line. Could you get her on? Could you get her interviewed? I mean, for someone in such a key constituency, she was curiously silent on the migrant crisis, didn't you find?
The migrant crisis down in Dover is, of course, it's the #1 issue down in that part of Kent, and actually up in the north of England as well. Voters are very concerned about it. My only dealing, in terms of on the record dealing with Natalie Elphicke, was a few years ago when I think Boris Johnson was in trouble, and the Conservative Party headquarters put her up to do an interview, and she couldn't stop saying the word deliver or delivery. So I'd ask her a question. She said, "We're delivering for the British people. This is all about delivery." And it went on and on and on. And I suddenly picked up this sort of, you could have a bit of a joke by just keeping on asking her questions. And all she would say is the word delivery. And deliver. And that's all she could say.
Maybe that's
on and on and on.
Maybe that's her next job. That's her next job, Theo. She's going to sign up for Deliveroo and make lots of deliveries. What are you doing, Natalie? I'm delivering. Listen, great to talk to you. Come on again, yeah?
Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. That's Theo Usherwood, political journalist. That was great.